video to show up. Okay. Wendy from New Zealand. Hi, Wendy. Good to see you virtually. And DG family is saying, I refreshed and then there was no chat, so no way to help. Had to click on Harp channel and find new video scream. Thanks, Evelyn. And Evelyn, thank you so much for letting me know about the music issue on my website. Evelyn is kind of the unofficial secretary of Harp Talk, and she pointed out that there was 2 versions of the same arrangement of Klin on my website. So thank you for pointing that out. I took one off, so there should just be one now. And for those of you who are new to Harp Talk, if there are any, you can purchase the accompanying handouts to this workshop over at my website, maevegilchristmusic.com/learn, and you can click on the upcoming handouts. That should bring you to today's. Or you can just tune in, take notes, and be here with us. This is a no pressure hour of harping. Please ask any questions you have. If you're new, let us know that you're new. I see some, old faces isn't really the right term, is it? But folk who've been coming to Harp Talk for a while, which is lovely. I'm so frustrated at this technical issue on YouTube Live, because I just know there are so many more people who wanted to be here today, and this glitch will have messed up for them. And I'm just not really sure how to let them know about it. If anyone else has ideas, please let me know. Or if anyone wants to post on the Harp Talk Facebook page, just quickly give them a little note. That would be brilliant too. But regardless, it's great to have you all here. Ellen's there. Hi, Ellen. Tara. Then guess that the live now. Okay, Tara, thanks. That's helpful. Okay, well, let's get on with the hour anyway. So today we've got this piece, Klin. You might remember, I think it was back in October or September, I played you this piece. It's a piece that I wrote for Jennifer Hogan when she was part of my Harp Weaver Kickstarter campaign. I don't think Jennifer is here today, but if you are, Jennifer, thank you again. And I so hope you like this piece that was written for you. Through this piece, Klin, we're going to work on the idea of texture. We're going to look at kind of constructing and deconstructing different levels of difficulty within the melody. I've tried to finger the music of this one in a simpler way so that you can play with the ornamentation or without, but not actually vary the fingering too much. I know that's been an issue in some of the other arrangements, and that the fingering is really different for the ornamented versions. And that gets in the way for those who just want to work on more simple placing and getting their hands lined up, fundamental technique stuff. So this is a fairly accessible arrangement, but for those of you who are more advanced, I hope you'll enjoy some of the ideas, the arrangement ideas, the little improv possibility sections. There's so much that we can do with this. I'm such a sucker for a melody, and if I think there's a strong melody, we can really take it to whatever place we want to. So more of that. And maybe to start, I'll just go ahead and play this piece. And then we've got our linear exercise today as well. It's great to have you all. Thanks for being here. Thanks for spending your Saturday afternoon with me here in Cold Spring. Here's Klin. I'm going to start with a little texture. was a version of Klin, this new piece that I wrote for Jennifer Hogan, and I'm sharing with you all today. So we're going to deconstruct that a little bit later, and any questions that you have, actually, particularly those of you who already have the music and have had a look at it, I'd love to know any questions you have. But to start with, we're going to get the fingers going. If you've got your harp there, let's get into the key of C major. I had a 2-month hiatus from teaching when I was over in Scotland these last couple of weeks, and it was just wonderful to be with my parents, even in such an extreme lockdown. I mean, things are really seriously locked down in the UK because of the severity of the new strain of the virus right now. But I had so much time with my mum and my dad, and we went for lots of blustery walks on the beach, and we made dinners together, and it was just really special. But I'm back now, and I started teaching again this week, which is equally special. I've been running the second of the Rhythm Intensive for Harpers series, and it's really an incredible thing to sit down at my desk and kind of virtually globetrot from Moscow to Newfoundland to LA, Germany, New Zealand. So if anyone there is taking the course, please say hello and let us know how you're getting on. I've really been enjoying connecting with students again. And something that with my other, not the rhythm ones, but my other students this week, we've been exploring is linear warm-ups. I do a lot of work with arpeggios, but I wanted to do kind of more scalic stuff, because often, especially for those who the tendency is to have closed hands, it's often the scale stuff that really gets the fingers kind of twisted when the fourth finger is going over and under and the fingers are on the strings in a row. So I'm going to walk through this 4-part exercise with you all. For those of you who are more advanced players, the aim of this is actually to get it at quite a fast tempo, a fast speed, really lightly, as if we're just kind of skimming over the water, never dropping our feet in the water, always just kind of floating above it. And so a lighter default speed, and this idea of gliding up and down the harp. If you think there's no way I will ever get to that speed, don't worry. Your aim is just to get an even, light, and relaxed sound and feel to your playing in this exercise. I'm going to start with the right hand, and part 1 of this exercise is just a regular C scale, 2 octaves. I'm sure most of you know this, but the fingering is 4-3-2-1, 4-3-2-1, 3-2-1, 4-3-2-1. Before you start setting up the notes individually, let's block those groups, especially if you're not very confident in setting the fingers, especially if you're not great at stretching out that fourth finger. It's really important to block before you separate. This is teaching the hand the muscle memory of the shapes. So I'm going to block 4 notes in a row. Go ahead and do this with me if you've got your harp there. 4-3-2-1. I'm setting as a group, so all my fingers on the strings at the same time. 4-3-2-1 from G. 3-2-1 from D. 4-3-2-1 from G. And then we'll go back down again. 1, 2, 3 on F, E, D. 4, 4. And if you're thinking, like, what's the point? Like, why do we really need that setting of 3 fingers to be in the middle? Wouldn't it be just the same if we did it at the top or the bottom? But the thing is, we're trying to teach our hand and our body patterns. It's like a language. My boyfriend's actually studying coding software. God, I don't even know what it's called. Software engineering. Something like that. And he's learning a whole new language. And this kind of playing, this technical focus doesn't seem that dissimilar. We're also trying to have our hand memorize shapes. So having this as our go-to scale fingering is really helpful in developing from there on out. So we'll block that one more time together. 4-3-2-1, 4-3-2-1, 3-2-1, 4-3-2-1. Oh, and I see we've got more people. So welcome all of those who are just arriving. Please let me know who you are, if it's your first time at Harp Talk, where you're tuning in from. I'm so sorry about the technical glitches. I am not great at this stuff. But I'm very good at scales on the harp. So we will continue. Back down, blocking, and then we're going to separate the notes. What we're listening for here, and really do listen. Listening starts with your own sound, and I'm trying to really closely listen so that I don't hear when my fourth finger is going under. It's just one silken thread of sound. I'm not playing unthoughtfully in regards to weight. I'm purposefully lightening up and trying to get the consistency at that lighter default touch. If that's too fast for you, let's do it a little slower. But remember, it's much easier to sink into a heavy style of playing when it's slow, so be even more aware of playing lightly and playing with a beautiful tone. If I were you, in my own practice time, I'd be working with a metronome. Stage 2 of this exercise, we end on the fourth finger on C. We're going to play a scale again, but this time we're going to miss out the Ds. So 2-octave C scale, missing out the Ds. Our new fingering is going to be 4, 3, 2, 1, and then a group of 3, 3, and 3. So a group of 4, 3, 3, 3. So let's just go ahead and block that. 4, 3, 2, 1 on C, E, F, G. 3, 2, 1 on A, B, C. 3, 2, 1 on E, F, and G, and 3, 2, 1 on A, B, and C. Doing that blocking at speed is also a challenge. Can we land all of our fingers at the same time on the strings? Go at whatever pace you need to. You don't need to go that fast. I'm going to separate the notes and try and seek out that same even light sound. I'm going to put them together now. The regular C scale, fingering 4, 4, 3, 4, and this new scale, missing out the Ds, 4, 3, 3, 3. Again, if this is all a little bit beyond you, just stick to the blocking to start with. That'll teach your hand the shapes. Here I go. This is my metronome. Light, lifted, immediately into the next shape. So we land on the C with the fourth finger. We immediately go into an arpeggiated shape. So this is stage 3 of the linear exercise. Our next shape is C, E, F, and A. It's the cookie cutter chord, as Park Stickney calls it. C, E, F, and A. We're going to block that 4, 3, 2, 1 once and twice up the octave. Up the octave, back down again. We play its notes separately. I'm going to kind of speed ahead just because of time, but you take this away and work on it at your own speed. The fourth and final stage of this exercise is we raise our thumb that was just on the A, we raise it up to B. I would also block that chord. So the fourth stage, the chord we're using for the arpeggio is C, E, F, and B. C, E, F, and B, down the octave, up the octave, down. We're trying to land all 4 fingers at the same time. You're really learning the shape that way. Shake it out, make sure you're relaxed, make sure you're breathing in with your core, supporting your body. I like to use the soundboard to support my arm. It helps me maintain stamina. And I'm going to try all 4 of those stages together. No repeating notes. So when we get to the bottom C, we immediately whoosh up the next stage. We'll finish at the end. I'll see you there. We're going to do it slower. And then for anyone who wants to try it faster with me, we'll try it faster. Let's see. Doom, doom, doom. This seems a reasonable speed for now. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and C scale. Missing out the D, changing the fingering. Chord-shaped 1. Chord-shaped 2. And we finish at the bottom. So in the same way that when you were separating the notes and blocking them, and you were blocking them 4 fingers at a time, when you separate the notes, we want to keep that same connected setting of the fingers. So when you're going under, I place my 4th finger and shoop, 3, 2, 1. It's like they suck onto the strings, but 3, 2, 1 land at the same time as a unit. That's really important. You might think, especially when you're practicing this slower, that it's easier to just go 1 note at a time, but you're kind of shooting yourself in the foot, because in the long run, you're not actually learning the shapes, so you're going to have to relearn them every time you tackle this. The more shapes you know, the more confident you'll be able to go into learning repertoire, because your hands will just have some of this down. So use this part of your practice, use this technical focus to really look at your hands and really care about every single element of putting your fingers on the strings. Tune into every part of your body. Make sure you're breathing while you're playing and not just waiting to the end to breathe. Anyone doing the rhythm course will sympathize with that, that we get to the end of the exercise and take a big deep breath. But no, actually learning to breathe in a regular cyclical way while you play is something that we have to practice as well. And it's something that I consciously do, especially in stressful situations like performing or new material. It's something I have to really think about so that my body can stay relaxed in order to execute the music. Okay, so I would do all that in my left hand too, but I'm going to do it once more at a faster speed just for anyone who wants to try. Don't worry if this is beyond you. I know I sound like a parrot saying that, but it's really important that you take away from these sessions something that's kind of tangible and manageable, and internalize it and then go from there. Little steps substantially absorbed is just so much better than skating through a whole bunch of material. But I think we can all get there. So here it is at a faster speed. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm trying to shape the notes. One more time. Missing out the D's. Chord shape 1. And now you probably noticed that I missed a couple of notes in there, and it didn't, hopefully, it didn't stop the flow of the notes. And this is a real change in focus. When I'm practicing slowly, I'm thinking about individual notes and how to project them, how to work my fingers to strengthen them and to get the best, fullest sound. When I'm practicing at fast tempos, my focus shifts and I'm trying to get the whole picture to be fluid. So instead of thinking of individual notes, I'm thinking of 4 or 8 2 octaves worth of notes in our arpeggio. And I'm thinking, how can I shape this line as a whole? So even if I miss a note here or there, how can I give the impression of a seamless string of 8th notes or 16th notes? I think this is a good time to open it up for questions. Let me check in with who's arrived since I started playing, and any questions that you have to do with this exercise, or any technical issues that you have with your own practice. Let's see here now. Oh, thank you, Evelyn. That's great. Putting comment on previous screen to point people here. Thank you. Hi, Gina. Gina from Chicago. Have you been here before? I don't know if I recognize a Gina. So welcome if this is your first time. We've got Carol. Hi, Carol. Jeanette. Hi, Jeanette in Toronto. Tara there. Claudia from Boston. Hi, Claudia. William from Florida. How's the weather in Florida? I bet it's a lot warmer than here in the Hudson Valley. It is, you know, in Scotland, it was a cold winter, one of the coldest that I've been there for. But when you come back to this side of the world, it's a different kind of cold. It kind of takes my breath away when I go outside. Gina is new. Great. Warm in Florida. So no questions so far. Am I right in thinking that I should move on? Please write your questions at any point. I am going to move on. But it helps me to tailor this hour so it's most beneficial to you guys. So please, any questions that you do have, don't hesitate to write down. Oh, Samantha's asking, sorry, what is chord shape 1? This is an oral learning technique. So again, for anyone new here, I'm going to walk you through the music that we're doing so you don't have to have handouts. However, if you would like the music to accompany these sessions, you can get it over at my website, maevegilchristmusic.com/learn. You'll see under the handout section upcoming, and the two pieces we're working on today are this exercise that I just demonstrated and the piece I'm about to work on are both up there. So Samantha, I was just kind of walking you through the shapes involved in that exercise. Just for anyone who wants to make a note, now that that's clearer, the 4 stages of the linear exercise that I just demonstrated was stage 1 was a regular C scale. Stage 2 is a regular scale, missing out the D note. So every note of a C scale apart from D, and I'm fingering that 4, 3, 2, 1, 3, 2, 1, 3, 2, 1, 3, 2, 1. So this is very important because a lot of similar notes, but different hand shapes. Stage 3 was the first chord shape or arpeggio, Samantha, C, E, F, and A. Maybe I called that shape 1 without thinking about it. But actually, I'm thinking of this as stage 3 of the 4-part exercise. Does that make sense? So C, E, F, A. And if you do have the music, you'll hopefully be able to see what I'm talking about. Or you can just simply put your hands on C, E, F, A and take a note of that shape. Stage 4 of the exercise was C, E, F, and B. In fact, Evelyn, could you type in the website link just for anyone who doesn't have the handout so that they know where to go to? Thank you very much. Does that help, Samantha? I was just outlining the different shapes of the exercise. Oh, no, it's not a general term. In fact, I think the language that I use is probably much more sterile and unpoetic than anything that would be found in the Celtic Isles, Samantha. Okay, so we're going to move on to Klin, this piece of music. I'm playing it in F minor, which is the relative minor of A flat. However, most of you, I'm imagining, tune your harps in E flat major. In that case, you can put all of your levers up and you can play this. Oh, no. You can put all of your levers apart from the Ds up and you can play this in F sharp minor instead. Does that make sense to everybody? I'm done. In fact, let me just play it. This is so much easier. I'm a little, I love the key of F minor, which is why I wrote it in that. But there's no reason I shouldn't demonstrate it in F sharp minor. So anyone who's tuned in E flat major, if you want to get in this key, put all your levers up apart from the Ds. And there's Patricia from St. John, Indiana. Hi, Patricia. Great to have you here. And again, apologies everybody for the technical glitch earlier on. Again, another technical glitch. Okay, so now we're in F sharp minor, and we're going to start this piece by just working on this murmuring kind of vamp that I start with. I'm going to take my left hand. The notes I'm going to play in 4/4 time are F, C, B, and E. I'm using 3/1 and then 2/1. Because this is kind of the foundation of the accompaniment of the piece, I want to really set myself upright. Again, I'm breathing and inflating my whole body. This left arm is such a help to taking some of the weight off my fingers and my wrist. But in order to not hurt my upper arm, I need to use my core to support. So 3 and 1 on F and C. I put 2 on B, thumb on E, and this is the beginning pattern. Join me with your left hands. Make sure that your elbows are out, that your notes are singing forward. After we get that going, we're going to add an upbeat pattern of the same notes. So first step is to subdivide your counting. I'm thinking 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And then with my right hand, I'm going to play the same note on the ands. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Think of your right hand as kind of bouncing off your left, really light. This whole thing is just an ethereal vamp. I'm always setting one finger ahead. Does that feel tricky? Easy? I'm going to just pull up the music so I can make sure that I'm teaching what I've written. It's never a strength of mine. From there, you can try just moving away and improvising a little bit with your right hand. Try keeping your left hand on that ostinato and using this upbeat idea to start to improvise. So right hand is still on upbeat eighth notes, but we're moving away from the pattern and just exploring some other notes. It might help to have the metronome on in the background for this. Once that feels good and floaty, you can start to move the right hand further. I want this to sound easy. So that's our vamp. I'm going to turn on the light because it's actually quite dark in here. Bear with me. Oh, no. That was very exciting. It's not just with the internet that I have technical glitches. My light switch is supposed to do all kinds of different lighting, and that too is having a moment. So from here, we're going to look at the melody and actually let your left hand drop away for a second, because this melody we really want to sing. We want it to have real emotional connection, and the first way to get that is to project your sound. So the A section of the melody is simply this. I'll break this down more in a second. In fact, was anyone not here at the beginning when I played this? Because I'll play it again at the end. That's what I'll do. Melody. For the stuff that's lower down, I'm going slightly further down in the on the strings to get a clearer, more nasal tone. Most of you know this is something that I like to do. If the melody's going around middle C, or especially if it's below middle C, I will almost always go down on my strings to get that clarity of the près de la table. You can hear the difference, middle of the string, down close to the soundboard. That's kind of exaggerating, but there's a beautiful difference in timbre. Always looking for a way to diversify the color of my notes as I'm playing. Let's just look at that very first phrase of melody happening in measure 8. Within that phrase, there's a real nuance that we can put into the phrasing. How do we phrase on the harp when we don't have a bow, or we don't have the breath, the breathed air? I'm sure there's a better way to say that. But such as the wind instruments, the flutes, the oboes, we don't have that kind of control over sustain. So we can use dynamics and intention to create the illusion of sustain, and certainly phrases. If this is the beginning of the phrase, I'll put it over here. If this is the beginning of the phrase, I think of it being an arc. So I'm leaning into the middle of the phrase, which isn't always intuitive. Often we want to lean into the outer edge of the thumb, or the bottom edge, the fourth and the third. So we're going to lean off those outer edges and into the middle of the phrase. I'll exaggerate it for you. Do you hear that? You can try it yourself if you've got your harp there. And now not so exaggerated, just in the back of my mind. I'm going to do that same shape now with the second phrase. And again. Coming away ever so slightly, and then low on the strings. You can hear that phrasing over the left hand. The left hand I'm trying to keep quite consistent. Again. Breathe. That first phrase, actually this whole A section I fingered so that you can put in the ornamentation or not. And in that first phrase, it's either, with no ornamentation, it would just be A and G at the end. If we put in the ornamentation, we're adding an extra 2 decorative notes, B and A, en route to the G. So if you want to practice the ornament playing right now, we can put 2 and 3 on A and G, and we're going to practice it with and without. Without, just A and G by themselves, coming into a fist. With, now the B and the A are barely there. The inflection of the melody doesn't change at all. The volume of the melody doesn't change at all. We just have these very light whispered ornament notes. So you don't want it to be heavy like this. You want it to be like this. I know there are often questions about ornaments, so feel free to ask for a clearer demonstration or a different angle if that could help. We go on, no ornaments. Oh no, I do play an ornament here. Same thing, if you want to practice just the setting of your fingers, don't bother with the ornamentation through this whole arrangement. Try it without, and then once your melody's flowing, you can go back and reinsert the ornamentation in. The second phrase without the ornament, with, just before the last 2 notes, the notes with the second and third finger again are G and F. And I'm just doing a grace note with my thumb from the C above the G. These grace notes I think of as being shadow notes. They're even less there than the roll that we just played on the last phrase. You might not even recognize the pitch of the note. It's so in the distance, but it does frame the target melody note in a new way. And that's really the point of ornamentation. It's not about the ornament notes themselves. It's about how it phrases or leads into a section of the melody. So get those first two phrases really slinky, really legato, which isn't a word often used to describe harp playing because of our lack of control over sustain. But actually, I think through really thinking about it and through juggling our dynamics right, that we can create legato. Here, this time I'm doing an ornament on the high F. So is that right? Yes, I am changing the fingering here. If you've got the music there, this is measure 9, 10, this is measure 12. If I were going to play it without the ornament, I would simply play 4, 3, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. I'll say that again in case anyone wants to take a note. 4, 3, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. But I love this ornament, and you'll notice that I'm trying to place the ornaments in different places all through the melody. And this is because I don't want anything to sound copy and paste. It's definitely the easier option to repeat grace notes in the same place. The same way it's easier to repeat left-hand patterns instead of kind of evolving the arrangement constantly. But these tiny differences in the placement of decoration, in melodic variations, in left-hand bass notes, they make for what I think of as a living arrangement, and they just make it sound more in the moment, more impromptu, more alive, and not of paper. It's of something more magical than notes on a page. So with the ornaments in this third phrase, we're going from this F sharp melody note down to this E melody note. If you want to do the grace note, I come up to the thumb. If you want to do the decorations, you can come up to the thumb, lift up, and I land with 1, 2, 3, 4 on G, F, E, and C. Because the G and the F are the decorative notes, I'm barely playing them. I'm leaning back on the E. Can you hear how I'm kind of leaning into the E and barely playing the above notes? If I were leaning in the above notes, it would sound like this. It's much more obvious, but we're trying to make everything subtle, which is sometimes frustrating because we work so hard to master these techniques, and we eventually want it so that the audience just thinks it feels completely easy, completely effortless. But that is the aim. And actually, when you're playing in an effortless way, it often means that you're using your body in a less taxing way. So it's a win-win. Are there any questions so far before I go on to talking about the B section? Thank you, Ellen. Evelyn saying leaning into the first E and not the second E in the phrase. Yes, because the first E is also the melody note, Evelyn. And I think it'd actually be inclined to come away a little on that second E and then lean down into the notes further down the harp. I hope that answers your question. Tara's asking, when do you play ornament on the beat and when before? Well, it all comes down to the interpretation of the melody, Tara. So if the melody is on the beat, and it is for this, unless you choose to play it differently, then you fit the ornamentation around that. So first of all, make your interpretation choices using just the melody. And then once you have a flow that you like with the melody, then insert the decorations. That's really important, actually. If you can take away anything from today's class, it's that the ornaments come second to the flow of the melody. So if you are a more advanced player and just jumping right into playing the ornaments, maybe take a step back for a second and take away the ornaments and make sure that you're flowing on the melody first. A great way to learn about your own playing is to record and listen back. So perhaps record you playing just the melody and listen, think about whether it sounds connected, whether it sounds like it's projecting in a singing way, and then keep that in place and add the ornaments around it. Okay, I'm going to turn the page and we're going to look a little bit at the B section. So it's also really important in a piece like this, which is relatively simple, and we can make it simpler if we have to. And if anyone's got questions about how to deconstruct arrangements further, I'd love to help you with that too. But when you have something as simple as this, for me, it's very important to pinpoint where we want the climax to be, what the emotional arc or narrative of this piece is. For me, the climax is the entry into the B section. So I'm going to play from the repeat of the A. This is the repeat. I'm just floating along. Here we go. This chord, this D major chord, to me it's so beautiful. And we can pull those heartstrings. I did say heartstrings, not harpstrings. We can pull those heartstrings in different ways. I mean, this is the beauty of interpretation and how we choose to bring our music to life. And there's two ways we could go around about this. There's two ways we could go about this. We could actually come away going into that D major 7 chord in order for the audience to kind of lean into us. It's like what they say about shouting. If you really want to hit a point home, whisper it, don't shout it. And I think it's the same for music. When I'm performing, I'd always rather bring the audience into me rather than kind of punch the sound out to them. So here, let me go from the A section and I'm going to really come away and hopefully bring your ears with me. So repeat of the A section. Here we go. Really coming away. I think there's such magic to getting softer. Or we can go the other direction and we can actually build. And if we're going to build like that, I would want to prepare the audience in some way. So I'm going to add a few notes to the arrangement here just to kind of like set up a more overt climax on that D major 7 chord. If you've got the music, that's measure 18. Let me try that now. Same place, repeat of the A section. Very different, but also really fun. I love this. Feels so kind of harp-tastic to me. I like to use this kind of thing sparingly, but it can be so fun and so, I don't know, tumultuous and just harpy. This kind of thing, by the way, what I was doing was just outlining different D major 7 shapes. The work that we were doing on the exercise earlier, outlining 4-note shapes, is such great preparation for that. If you want to join me right now in trying one of these, I'll walk you through it. On a D major 7 chord, my left hand starts on D, F sharp, A, and C. D, F sharp, A, and C. Just block it right now and replace your fingers. Let's see, our right hand, we're going to do just a D major 6. I'm just choosing notes out of thin air here. D, F, A, and B. So D major 7 in the left hand, D6 in the right hand. First step is get those to melt into one another. 2 hands become 1 hand. Then we're going to add, after the left hand has played those 4 notes, it's going to hop over to C, D, E, and F. Melt those 3 shapes into one another. If that feels really hard, block them many times. Gradually start to kind of stagger them. And gradually over time, you will be able to kind of melt them into one another. Again, you want even sound. You don't want to hear the breaks between them. And to finish, I'm going to put one more shape at the top, A, B, C, and E. I am just choosing notes somewhat randomly from a D major 7 chord, so you can really create your own shapes, but stick to the shapes that you pick to make sure that you're really learning them and creating a kind of even connected sound. So the last shape with my right hand is A, B, C, and E. If you want to take note of this, I'm going to go through them one more time. Left hand, D, F, A, and C. Right hand, D, E, F, and A. Left hand, C, D, E, and F. Right hand, A, B, C, and E. Sounds like this. Slower. You could come down it as well. I can't talk and play. Anyway, so this is the kind of shape that you could do if you wanted to create this harp-tastic entry into the B section. I'll do it one more time. You'll notice I'm changing little bits of the melody all the time. Going down on the strings. Here we go. Anyway, that's if you're looking to kind of go a little bit wilder, the opposite direction. But I also love the much smaller option. Clearing the sound. The way I clear the sound, if I want to go small on that B section, is this kind of damp gliss. I'm not damping. I'm not even like semi-damping. I'm taking one finger, usually my 4th finger on the left hand, and just slowly dragging it up the strings so it's clearing one by one a note. To me, it's like the equivalent of the clouds parting and sun kind of coming through. So if we've got lots of noise going on, you can hear I'm just gradually damping. So we don't notice it, but it is clearing the sound. So that when I land on that D chord, it's very clear what I'm doing. I think I'm rambling now. Please feel free to jump in and ask any questions. Let me see what else I want to point out on the B section, and let me check in with comments. Samantha is asking, if fingers have to be placed, how do you adjust fingering on the fly for ornamentation? I have to work it all out ahead of time. So what I would say, Samantha, is first of all, work out a version without ornamentation. Work out what your fingering would be for a version with no ornamentation, and make sure that the melody can flow in that way. Once you have the sound of the melody as you want it, go back and start changing the fingering with the ornamentation that I've written or that you hear, and work out cohesive fingerings that don't change that flow of the melody. You can use the ones that I've written. I think there's only 1 or 2 places in this arrangement where I've put ornamentation that actually changes what the fingering of the melody would be without it. So this is actually a good arrangement to work on with that in mind. And the first couple of places with ornaments, you can just take away the ornament fingers and the fingering still works. There's a couple of places that's not the same, but just find a fingering that works without the ornaments that really lets the melody sing. And once that flows, go ahead and put back in the ornaments. This means that you have two different fingerings, yes, but that's also not a bad thing. I mean, that's a great finger workout. To be able to make a melody sing with multiple fingerings means you're strengthening your fingers in different ways. So it's a good exercise for anybody. Oh, Denise is there. Hi, Denise. Just my neighbor down the road. Evelyn's asking D. So the chord shapes, if anyone wants to note them one more time. Oh, someone else had them. Yep, Tara's got it. You're on it. You're one step ahead of me. Claudia says, voice recognition on my phone always writes heart for harp. I know. Mine too, Claudia. Mary, Samantha, how to improvise in place. It has to be worked out for me. Oh no, you've got this. In fact, Samantha, this is a great one for you to work out because there's only a couple places that you would have to work it out for yourself. But for example, I'm looking at measure 18, 19, 20 right now. In measure 20, if we were to use the fingering there, we would play the G and then lift and place 1, 2, 3, 4 on A, G, F, and E. The first two notes are ornaments. Are you looking at the music? Can you see this? If you can't see this, let me know. But for those of you who have the music, the fingering for the ornaments is 1 and 2 on A and G, and then 3 and 4 on F and E. So we're very light on the top two notes, the A and the G, and leaning into the F and the E. And once more, this is measure 20. If we want to create a version of the melody without the ornaments, we would finish on the G, and then the melody is going F, E, C, F. So we played the 1 on G. I would just go down 2, 3, 4 on F, E, and C and create a scale. 2, 3, 4, 1, and then you'd continue on the same way. Does that make sense, Samantha? Also, I should say, for any of you who are not used to working out your own fingering, it might seem a little daunting if you're not doing it often, but it's a really great challenge to start to try and finger. You're basically trying to put on as many fingers as you can within a phrase in one direction. So that's the premise of directional placing. You're trying to place as many fingers as you can going in one direction. So for that measure 20, it makes sense to me to finger it as a scale because you've got G, F, E down to C. You've got 4 fingers. Perfect. 1, 2, 3, 4. But also just try things, Samantha. See what works for you. What I think is a truth is that if you can connect a phrase by placing more fingers, the line itself will just sound more connected. So that's why fingering is so important. So take examples from arrangements books, but do try sometimes to find your own fingering. It's a great exercise and is a big part of kind of honing your own voice as a harpist. Wendy says, if that's rambling. Well, thank you very much, Wendy. Okay, just one more thing. I know we're getting to the end. Well, we're past the time now, but I'll hold you for a moment longer if you don't mind. I just want to look at the left hand in measure 23 and 24. This is a left-hand line that's mirroring the shape of the melody, and I'd love for it to be a really connected thing. So this would be a couple of practice measures. Measure 23, 24, we're going to mark that with our red pen and practice that left-hand line as one shape. So using the elbow, the core to support. We can't make sure when you set 1, 2, 3. I don't think I've written that fingering, but I would if you want to write in the fingering here. I'm fingering it 1, 2, 3, CBA. Make sure there's a nice gap between your thumb and your second finger. So 1, 2, 3. 1, 2 on G and F. 1 down to 4 on E to E. I then lift up and do the written fingering. 4, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. I then want to connect that whole phrase as one smooth phrase. Memorize it. The best way to get phrases to sing, to shape the music, is to move away from the music. And even if you're not a great memorizer, I know that you can memorize one measure, or in this case, two measures. So memorize this piece as quickly as you can so that you can look at your fingers. Often, if something isn't working when you're looking at the page, all it takes is you really looking at your hand and kind of watching and seeing, well, what can I do to make this sound smoother? Perhaps your fingers are too close together. And if you're someone who took up the harp later on, often this is the issue. The fingers are just too close together. So it's really difficult to go over and under smoothly. When you're going over and under, there shouldn't be any wrist movement. If you're doing this, we should reevaluate. Make sure that there's enough space between your second finger and your thumb, and then maintain that shape as you move up and down the harp. So when you finish the phrase, check out that you're ending up very close to where you started. Take a mental snapshot of your starting position and your ending position and make sure they're similar. But this is a phrase we want to. We really want that to sing. That's such a nice cello line. I always wish my left hand was a cello. All right, for those of you who weren't there at the very beginning because of technical glitches, I'm just going to play the whole thing one more time. This can also be an opportunity for any of you who have any other questions to write down, and I'll check in before we finish this session. So here's Klin. I'll play it twice through and try and play with some of these arrangement ideas as I go. All right, let me check in. Who do we have? Thank you, Ruth. Thank you for joining. And Carol, thank you. Evelyn. So lovely, Gina. Yeah, thank you so much. All right. Well, I don't think we have any more questions. The next Harp Talk is, let me see. I've got to move house actually in the next month, so it's all a little known, but I think it's safe to say that Sunday, February 21st will be our next Harp Talk. That's a Sunday, not a Saturday. If you have friends who come, please remind them about the new format on YouTube Live. I will keep working on this glitch. It's happened both times. It's this silly thing that it goes live and it just doesn't connect to my external camera. And as soon as I start it over, it all works fine. So it's just hard to know what to do. But I will be here, you now know, to refresh the page, spread the word, and I'll see you on Sunday 21st. I don't have a topic yet for that class. So if there's something that you'd like to work on, shoot me an email and let me know how you're doing. If you're not on my email list, that's the best way to stay afloat of news. I'm trying to think if there is any news. I don't think so. There's some lovely podcasts that have been done recently on the Harp Weaver, my most recent album that was released in October. One of my favorite NPR hosts, John Schaefer, recently released a podcast on the Harp Weaver. And the great Brian O'Donovan in WGBH in Boston released a new podcast as well. So if you're curious and learning more about that music, you can check that out. I'm busy putting together another couple of new books. One will be ready in time for the online Edinburgh Harp Festival, which is happening in April. Be sure to check that out. There's a wonderful roster of harp players. Oh goodness, I can't think of anything else, but I will let you know. Thank you so much for joining us, especially if this is your first time. Welcome. And I'll see you in a couple of weeks. Okay.